is the virtual happy hour experience with the Drunken Grape. I am your show host, Rob. And today we have a phenomenal guest. Each and every week we have great guests. Make sure to subscribe to this show. Make sure to share, like, make sure to hit the notification bell and select to all. But I'm really delighted to have this guest on the panel because he's really passionate about something I'm passionate about. I've lost my twin sister, my father from cancer. He has had a personal battle of about 15 years with cancer, and he is now really driven to bring awareness, fundraising, and much needed attention to this killer set of diseases, in particular blood cancers. Tim Sohn, brother, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. I'm doing wonderful, and I'm just so honored to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, listen, it's way overdue. You're one of my favorite people. I am so glad we crossed paths on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You have gone through a perilous journey, one that would be probably harder than somebody going to climb Mount Everest in many ways. And I'm not even joking when I say that. I know that you are very driven to support blood cancers, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You have your show, which is something showcasing perspectives of cancer. Correct me, I think I missed that title, but it's with our friend Kara Oakler. You really put a lot of heart and soul into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Showing up, perspectives of cancer. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this airs live, I believe, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, typically on LinkedIn. Tim, what got you into this journey? I mean, one is kind of obvious, the other, live streaming, and how you've really built up the platform of live streaming across social media. Talk to us a bit about that journey as well and tie it all in together, because this is something that's becoming ever popular. Obviously, if you're in sales, marketing, or want to convey or promote a message or really promote a cause, video and live streaming are the most powerful tools at your fingertips today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rob, I got interested in live streaming about, 4 or 5 years ago. And I just, Facebook was saying you have to be using Facebook Live in order to reach, the most number of people online, those pesky algorithms, right? So I was telling my clients they needed to use Facebook Live to reach the most number of people, but I wasn't using Facebook Live. So my clients didn't want to use Facebook Live. So I started using Facebook Live, and I was reaching a ton of people, and people were engaging with me, and I was picking up more clients. And then a few years ago, in August, we celebrated the 3-year anniversary of the Tim and Jim show, the first show that I created along with Jim Fuse. And that's been a great ride. And live streaming has just been such an amazing way to build relationships with people, build community, connect with people. And then I was diagnosed 15 years ago, like you were saying, with chronic leukemia out of nowhere. I went to my primary care physician's office after I found some purple blotches on my legs, and I had never had any major medical problems or anything, but there has been a history of cancer in my extended family. And it ended up that I had chronic leukemia. I ended up having to drive 2 hours to a hospital. They said, you need to go to a hospital right away. And so I ended up being diagnosed, and I had never planned on sharing my story, my cancer journey over these 15 years. I've been blessed in that I take oral chemo medication that has worked very well. I've never been really sick from the leukemia or from the medication, which I've been very blessed with. But I've always felt kind of guilty in a way, because so many people haven't been blessed in that way. They've gotten sick or they've passed from leukemia. So I've never wanted to share my story for that reason. But then in June, a number of things happened. Jenny Gold invited me on her show, which is all about autoimmune diseases. And Steve Sullivan on LinkedIn created a video. He's a 35-year survivor of acute leukemia.
Yeah.
And he created a video on National Cancer Survivor Day, sharing his story, and that inspired me. And Nancy Barrows had created the Radiating Real movement, so I'd been creating more posts that were more vulnerable and more personal, and all these things happened in 1 week, and I ended up sharing my story. And that was just in June of 2021. And between then and now, I've connected with other cancer survivors. They've reached out to me. I've reached out to them. I ended up creating this show with Kara Ulker, who's my bestie, as well as she has her perspective on cancer. Her mom passed of cancer 7 years ago. So she's been impacted by cancer her entire life. And you were on our show recently, Rob, and we're so grateful you were on our show.
Yeah. And I was grateful to share my story there. And I think what you've provided with showing up perspectives of cancer is a live platform that people can really engage and express themselves. And for me, one of the things that, it's a hole that'll never be filled. I mean, it's losing my twin sister was such a colossal blow, but I can tell you this. What makes the grieving part, and I think about her every day, and I miss her dearly, what makes the grieving part easier is sharing the story, because I think people need to know and they need to hear about it. And what I went through, even not as a victim of cancer, such as yourself that persevered and survived, or someone like Lisa who had actually beat it and then it came back and took her. And that's a pretty common story too. It's what happens to those around you take a hit. And it's really important to open this up as part of the constant healing process, because it's like a war wound that never fully closes. It. The only way to keep it at bay and to deal with it is to communicate about it and to reach out to others and to create. And this is why I love your platform, because it creates, I don't want to use the coin term safe space, but what it does is it creates an environment where people can open up, they can express what they're going through, and they get the support they need. Because the other part is often when people are suffering, it's hard for them to communicate and they feel marginalized, and marginalized leads to terrible things, suicides, substance abuse, probably being the top two of the list. And I think what you're doing here is fantastic. And I want to toast that on a very serious level. Cheers, Tim. I know you got a glass of white Zinfandel in your hand. Cheers to you on that. This is a Rodenbach Classic Aged Sour in large oak casks. It's a Belgian favorite. It's Flemish. You have some caramel or crystal malts in there, and the grain bill has a wonderful vinous character, sour cherry, balsamic vinaigrette-like flavors. A lot of this has to do with wild yeasts, Brettanomyces, as well as bacteria such as Lactobacillus and Pediococcus that affects the brew during the fermentation process. And what you get is this brilliant beer that is a great substitute for red wine, often at dinner, because it's got that effervescence of a champagne, but it has the vinous character of of wine, and that vinaigrette character of balsamic vinaigrette, which tends to pair in everything. What do you have there? You got white Zinfandel, in your hand?
Yeah, I have white Zinfandel from California. I don't really know much more than that. That's what I have.
Sweet wine, that's cool. It's a stuck fermentation. I can't remember which winery. I would think it's Sutter's Winery is probably the largest seller of it. Gallows is another.
That might be it.
Seller. So white Zinfandel is really a light rosé. It comes from the Zinfandel grape, and it's a stuck fermentation. So what happens is, as I was telling you in the green room, really quick for our viewers and observers joining this happy hour. Cheers to you.
Yes, cheers.
Stuck fermentations. What happens is yeasts consume sugar and then excrete it as CO2, alcohol, and sulfites. This is generally what happens in fermentation. There's a bit of nitrates in there as well, but the bulk of it is the fermentation process is the yeast consuming sugar and turning it to alcohol. What happens is the fermentation process is arrested in a stuck fermentation. Usually it's a cold chill during fermentation in the winter, and I believe that's what happened by accident in California. Created this sweet wine that they decided to bottle and sell, and oh boy did it ever become popular. I think it's the best-selling sweet wine in the United States today.
Wow.
It's easy to enjoy. It's one of the first wines that I got introduced to by a girl I was dating in my 20s, because it's easy. People can relate to sweet, joyful, you know, American culture, North American culture. We love our sweets. This fit right into the culture. And I think you can buy it for like under $10 a bottle. So the affordability factor is huge too. So it has mass appeal. So that's a bit about that and enough of that. We're going to get back, of course, now and really focus on the element of this show, which is you, your live streaming, and your cancer awareness. Do you have, like, you're really also very big into video production. How did you get started into that part of it? Because this all ties into how you're engineering and moving things forward.
Yeah, so it really happened that, like I was talking about, the Tim and Jim show happened more than 3 years ago. And so I had been co-hosting the show with Jim Fuse, and we take turns producing the show. Whoever we invite to the show, we take turns inviting people. And so whoever invites the person that week, that person produces the show as well. So we both had experience producing shows, and then the pandemic hit. And I had been working with businesses here in Northeast Pennsylvania, doing social media management, like creating posts on Facebook and Instagram and, you know, things like that, mostly with small businesses here in Northeast Pennsylvania, and also working with local events.
Nice.
Even live streaming local events, you know, going somewhere and live streaming. So, you know, a lot of businesses that were severely hit by COVID, you know, brick and mortar stores, diners, in-person events, all those places were my clients. Right?
And then
COVID,
scuttled.
Bam. Yeah. So I had been considering for a while, and COVID really accelerated that, creating a coaching program around live streaming and around having people launch their own courses, not launch their own courses, launch their own live stream shows. So I did that. And then people started reaching out about having me produce shows or virtual events for them. So one event that I had produced early on in COVID, and this was along with Brian Schulman, was an event called Leucadia Aid. It was an event in California, this event around small businesses. It's an event very similar to a Chamber of Commerce that, you know, they had bands, and this was an annual event that they had that, you know, brought in a lot of money typically to help small businesses in California. So here from my basement office in Shohola, Pennsylvania, and then there they had bands on site, and they had on site, they had sponsors like restaurants and bars. So we went live to the bars and to the location with the bands, and it was so cool to be able to do that. Not that COVID was cool at all, but the opportunity to be able to produce from the middle of freaking nowhere, as I like to say, in Shohola, Pennsylvania, you know, an event in California, you know, it's really cool to be able to do that remotely.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of virtual events, and obviously, you know, I'm a big purveyor of them in the wine, spirits, and beer world, virtual dinner parties through my partner, Chef Toriel. Virtual events are here to stay because anybody remote, isolated by time barriers, flight distance, you know, these create all sorts of gaps. We know corporate travel, the money's not coming back to that. There's just no chance of it. You're better off to reinvest into salaries and improved equipment and improved experiences and education for your team if you're a business owner. And virtual events smack right in that alley. They can align an experience for like alumni, for instance. If you are an alumni engagement officer or the VP of alumni for key universities and you're in charge of fundraising because that's key, or you're part of a hospital, it's in charge of fundraising. Virtual events are brilliant. You're not going to, why spend all that time and effort trying to host a live event unless the bulk of the people are in your city, or it's an annual conclave or an event that you need to meet in person. I get that. You know, virtual events are here to stay. And it's good that we're on the right side of history for this, Tim. I really believe that. Definitely. And your video work is awesome. I mean, we are always in discussion about how to get a live show for me going. And you are the person I am going to point to when that does happen. Ladies and gentlemen, awesome. I'm going to also bring up some stuff to share now. You know, I always love sharing profiles on the virtual happy hour experience. And, Again, make sure to share, like the show. Make sure to hit the notification bell to all when you do subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Definitely.
And we have Tim's profile up here. So I'm going to open this up first. This is the first thing we're going to open up. And it's just going to, hey, there we go. So this just shows you a lot of what he's done. Co-host the Tim and Jim show, 15-year leukemia survivor. Live streaming is your expertise. If we scroll down here, I love the fact that you're key on servant leadership. You have all sorts of activity. You're constantly producing content. You have an active and organic following. You also have social media solutions. And I want to show this because, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to produce a professional live stream show, Tim is one of a handful of people I would highly recommend that you hire professionally. I believe all companies should have a live stream show. You should also have a podcast booth set up for professional streaming and videography and social media video. If you want to move toward a multi-billion-dollar future and be part of that big pie that's going to turn into a $1 trillion market one day, you need to engage in social media video. Live streaming is a very powerful tool. Even if, and I expect this is going to happen, social media, especially due to the polarization of it politically on platforms like Twitter and Facebook, the two worst of the pile, they're going to get regulated. But one thing that's not going to get regulated is live streaming and video production if it's done in a positive and agnostic way. If you're there to promote your services, if you're there to talk about activities, people's marketplaces, big companies' products, new products coming to launch, services coming to market. Live streaming is here. It is here, brother. It's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
It's a permanent phenomenon that's going to stay. You best to get in it now. Ladies and gentlemen, hit Tim up on this site. You can message him directly. Hit him up on LinkedIn. I'm also going to have the contact details in the description of the show on the YouTube channel, where you can find Tim as well, where you can reach out to them. But the other element I want to share, and I'm going to stop sharing that page, but what I want to get to next is I want to share that file that you sent me. There we go. So this is an event coming up with your partner, Kara. This is in conjunction with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Open your hearts and wallets for blood cancers. This is a 24-hour live stream telemarathon. I compare it to the old telethons of Jerry Lewis, these the celebrities that created awesome telethons. But ladies and gentlemen, you want to be a part of this. This is going to be live streamed, I believe, on different platforms, predominantly LinkedIn. Tune into this. It costs you nothing. Open up your wallets. Give as little as 10 or 20 bucks and go from there. I mean, think about it. If everyone gave a little bit, we'd have a massive amount of money to solve a serious problem. Leukemia is a massive problem. It killed my father. It killed a couple people I knew from high school in their younger years. No one deserves to suffer from this crap. If we can actually align and wipe out COVID and really actually tackle this in such a short time frame, there's absolutely no excuse for the world not to tackle cancer in the same way. And I absolutely believe that. If we're going to go through this, you have a huge live stream lineup. You got some superstars of live streaming.
Yes. We have 13 live streamers.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful for everyone who is volunteering. I mean, everyone: Carol Ulker, Stephen Kaplan, Dorothy Odell, Carl Sullivan, Jenny Gold, Robert Murray, Mark Lee, Jim Fuse, DJ Durante, Brian Schulman, Nancy Barrows, Russ Johns. They're all live streaming on their own channels over 24 hours. I mean, Robert Murray in Alaska is live streaming for 3 hours from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Eastern time. It's earlier for him because he's in Alaska. I mean, all of them are just like their hearts, their talents, their energy. It's just like pouring out. And then the team, including you, Rob, and everyone who's on the team behind the scenes, organizing this, taking so much, I'm just so grateful for everyone. We're going to be interviewing Laura Rappa. She is the mom of the Girl of the Year for the Lehigh Valley here in Pennsylvania for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So we're going to be interviewing her at 8 o'clock on Tuesday March 8th on Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. So that's going to be an amazing show. So the during the 24 hours, there's going to be a combination of interviews with cancer survivors and supporters. We have some musicians lined up and entertainers, as well as Pam Formica, who is our contact with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, who has been so helpful in helping me and my team plan all of this. She is going to be there at the launch of the event. Some super powerful videos that Leukemia and Lymphoma Society are sharing with us that we'll be able to share with you for the first time. I just can't express my thanks enough to everyone who is going to be, helping with this literally 24-hour event. That's an entire 24 hours. That's just, I have no words.
I think it's great. That's what I'm going to say. And we're going to close off the show now. I want to leave everyone with this thought. Be the change you want to be. Mahatma Gandhi preached this. I love repeating these words occasionally on the show, each and every week, that we have great guests, extraordinary drinks with extraordinary people. Tim, you're definitely an extraordinary person. And we need more people like you. Thank you, brother. We need more people like you. This is exactly how to promote and move things forward. If you're a company, pay attention. You could turn this into a marketing drive. You could turn this into an awareness campaign. If you're into clean energy, one of the moving pieces of the future, you could have a whole live campaign on the benefits of what a cleaner world would look like. And Tim, you are absolutely a gem and a person and a rock star for these people to reach out to. And I cannot stress that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Tim, cheers on the happy hour. I love you. Much cheers, brother.
Love you too.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let's end the divide in this world during this pandemic. Let's unite. Let's come together under common causes. Whatever you decide to do, have a terrific day. Much love from Tim and Rob from The Drunken Grape.